It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's a Thursday edition of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, and welcome back to your source for fantasy hockey news. We have a jam-packed episode today. As always, we're focusing on the blue paint and some of the goaltenders that you might want to be targeting for a trade in the second half, big-time bets, and some big-time injury news from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Thank you for joining us. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back inside the lab, everybody, and thank you for tuning in for the Thursday edition of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Steele, honestly, our listeners know you and I come on here every single day saying I'm fired up to talk about fantasy hockey. Today, I'm a little bit more fired up than usual. You know, goaltending situations are near and dear to my heart. I've been burned, and I've won money based off the goaltending situations in the fantasy realm. You have to keep your eyes peeled on this situation, regardless of what your roster looks like. We're talking about 5 goalies, maybe 4, 5, 6 even. You might want to consider targeting for a trade in this second half for a big second half come up in the blue paint. We got big-time bets. But honestly, Steele, there's a little bit of interesting injury news here out of the Toronto Maple Leafs. You and I record early every day. So, you know, this is the end of the day on Wednesday. Auston Matthews misses the Wednesday night game against the Nashville Predators. Maybe there's something to discuss here, though, very quickly with this player who, look, we know he's still been getting it done. He's still having a good season, 20 goals, 27 assists. But maybe what's been hindering this guy from going on the special kind of goal streaks and goal heaters that we've seen from him is a nagging injury. He's played through injuries before. The Auston Matthews haters love to come out of the woodwork and say he gets injured a lot. What are you seeing? What do you think about this situation day to day right now from Sheldon Keefe? But I don't know about you, pal. As a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, just taking off all the bias, I'm a little bit concerned.
I'm actually not as concerned about this. And you know, I've seen this happen in the past with Auston Matthews, nagging injuries. He comes back better than ever.
Hold me down, brother. Thank you for the positivity.
I'm more comfortable now with this than I have been with any past injury from Auston Matthews because of how special Marner, Nylander, and Tavares have been this entire season. They have Riley back. Murray's playing some great hockey. You know, Samsonov has been a little bit shaky of recently. But I am comfortable and confident with this team right now. Look, they've struggled with injuries all season long, more on the blue line than the offense. But look, you've got Calle Yarncroke firing on all cylinders right now on the second line. You know, Alex Kerfoot is kind of going as well. You get the bottom 6 going, get them into the game a little bit as well. So, you know, if Matthews is out for the next 2, 3, 4 games even, I have a lot of faith in Willie Nylander and Marner and Tavares to produce on the offensive side of things because they have been the top guys this season. It's really been Marner and Nylander.
Listen, this is just, you know me when it comes to this Toronto team. We try and keep our Toronto opinions to a minimum on this podcast because that's not what it's about. You're here for your fantasy takes, and we got to cover every single team in the NHL. This one's near and dear to our heart, so sometimes we got to bring it up. When Auston Matthews goes down or any news happens, it's like McDavid or other pieces in the league. Say what you will about their quality. We got to talk about it. And look, he's on a 5-game point streak, 3 goals, 4 assists, 47 points this season, like I mentioned. I'm just a little bit wary when they say, you know, Sheldon Keefe says it's not something new. He's been dealing with it. That's when my alarm bells go off. I'm just trying to be extra precautious. And since I'm being that, William Nylander will move from the right wing to center to replace Matthews on a line with Michael Bunting. And now Pierre Engvall is going to move up. If you're looking just even for a couple of days fill-in, Pierre Engvall, go out there and add him because he might be getting a couple of points playing with Bunting and Nylander. That's just my small takeaway from that. We don't need to go much more down the Auston Matthews rabbit hole because there's not much to talk about there until we know more.
Yeah.
But what we do know, Steele, is, like I alluded to at the top of the episode, making sure that your goaltending roster is in order heading into these. I keep saying second half. Trust me, Steele and I are going to be done with the second half takes. But it's an important time of the season to manage your roster, especially in the blue paint. And some of these goalies that I have on my list, Steele, as trade targets to go after for your goaltending options in the second half. That's what we're looking at. Darcy Kuemper, number one. Some of these goaltenders that may have had a good half or not, they come on strong. Darcy Kuemper is a streaky goalie. And actually, if you look into the numbers, Steele, and I did a little bit today, he's up there with save percentage. He's in the top 10, 920 save percentage. He's in the top 10 with goals against, 245, and he leads the league in shutouts very quietly. Darcy Kuemper might have been a goaltender flying a little under the radar, and now those Washington Capitals are getting healthy. He's right at the top of my list for a goaltender that I would take a risk on a trade the second half.
Yeah, he's on my list as well. One of those better goaltenders that I actually think, is a reasonable goalie that you can go out and get for a reasonable price in a trade. As of right now, 90+% rostered on both Yahoo and ESPN leagues. Looking at the stats again, 920 save percentage, 2.45 goals against average. He hasn't lost in regulation since November 19th, actually. So he's been pretty good over the last stretch of games. And the real thing why I think this is a goalie that you can target right now is he was already injured earlier on in the season. He was out for 2 to 3 weeks around that time span. So I think for the majority of the remainder of the season, he's going to get the run out for the Washington Capitals. He's going to be the guy come playoff time. So they're going to want to make sure he has his confidence going, especially leading into the playoffs. And obviously we know Charlie Lindgren has been great this season. He's been a fantastic backup. He came in when Kuemper was injured and he played awesome. But Kuemper is their starting goaltender. They want him to have all the confidence and all the mojo heading into the playoffs. So definitely one of those top goaltenders that I think you can actually go out and acquire.
Also, if we're forgetting, and maybe I am for sure, this is the reigning Stanley Cup champion goaltender who took the Colorado Avalanche to the Stanley Cup. And honestly, I think that might be one of the most overlooked points with this goaltender. And maybe right now is the time to pounce on him. That's exactly why we're highlighting him. And another guy, Steele, who was injured last season at the end of the season in the playoffs, which really hindered the Nashville Predators' overall success, obviously. UC Saros is starting to pick up steam. We've said at length, I'm not even going to mention it again, what the Nashville Predators do in the second half. This is a guy right now, while he's hot, it might be hard to get him because he has been so hot. You might need to wait a couple of days, let him get a bad start or two if he's going to have it. I love UC Saros. Honestly, I really do. His numbers are impressive again this year and not even as good as Kuemper. So go ahead and take a shot on Kuemper first, perhaps. 2.67 goals against, 920 save percentage, a shutout, 15, 10, and 5. A lot of overtime losses for this Nashville Predators team. But UC Saros, Steele, for me, I've also just been looking at this angle of the goalies you want to go after from teams that I think will be successful this second half, and Nashville's right there at the top.
Yeah, and I think this is where you and I are going to start to disagree a little bit with these goalie takes here. I just don't think it's really possible to go out and acquire those top goaltenders like Hellebuck, UC Saros, Vasilevsky, unless you're giving up some premium price and top prospect picks.
Thankfully, none of those guys are on my list for the rest of the show.
Yeah, perfect. So this is where I think we disagree a little bit. But unless you're willing to give up a top pick, a first round, second round, as well as maybe a top forward, a decent forward or defenseman, it's going to be tough to acquire some of those top 5 goalies. So I went a little bit of a different route here with goalies that I just really love right now and who are getting wins, as well as just playing decent for me. I'm looking at Karel Vejmelka of the Arizona Coyotes. I've talked about him a lot. He has gone down.
You love yourself some Vejmelka. I love this.
I do love some Vejmelka. Again, I've talked about this Coyotes team, really just trending in the right direction this season as well. Hopefully next season. But Vejmelka, he's been pretty bad the last 5 games, which has really hindered his stats. A few weeks ago, he had a .915 save percentage. As of right now, he's at a .902 save percentage. 3.35 goals against average. The last 5 games have not been kind. He's lost all 5 games. He's let in 3 or more goals in all 5 of those games, but that's why his stats are a little bit hindered. Again, one of those guys that is rostered right now at 48% on Yahoo. So either get a trade at a decent price or you can get him off the waiver wire. But he's actually the 6th best goalie in fantasy points this season. He's ahead of Allmark. He's ahead of Kuemper. He's ahead of Thompson, Vasilevsky. He's the 6th best goalie. Obviously, if you're talking about categorical stats, not the best in there. But for fantasy, he makes a ton of saves. I think over 950 saves on the season. So if you're talking about just fantasy points straight up, he's up there with the best.
I like the caveats that you're throwing out here, my friend, to support your arguments. You're getting sneaky, and I'm here for it. We're going to get sneaky after the break because I have a number of good goaltending options. Steele might not like them or not, but these, I'm not looking at the Vamelkas of the world, people. I'm trying to get elite. You're going to have to get spicy to acquire them. You're going to have to get spicy with betonline.net as your number one source for sports betting info this season and every season. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. You can get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there at betonline.net. From pro football to the basketball hard court to everything in between, they have you covered at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, just like you love the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast, you can get even more of them at BetOnline as well, where they're always the fastest and easiest way for you to get all of your betting info. Head to the website today, like Steele and I do, for our nightly NHL bets, or you can use your mobile device to learn more. That's BetOnline, where the game starts.
This is Dane Lewis from the Locked On Stars podcast, here to let you know the following message brought to you by Discover. Did you know that you could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection, the latest innovation from Discover? Discover will help regularly remove your personal info, like your name and address, from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data, and they'll do it for free. Activate in the Discover app and see terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection.
Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast your first listen every single day. Remember, we are free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube. So make sure you go hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. Flip and I appreciate all the love and support out there. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode. Look, I'm looking again at the Seattle Kraken, Martin Jones right now. I'm talking about wins right now. Let's go with the Seattle Kraken. He's won his last 5 games in a row. They're on an extreme heater right now. I love me some Seattle Kraken. 62% rostered on Yahoo, 40% on ESPN. So I'm looking at guys that you can either, again, at the percentage right now of where they're rostered, you can either acquire them at a very decent price, or you can pick them up off the waiver wire. He has a 19-5-3 record on the season. We talked about him the other day. 894 save percentage, not the best. 2.78 goals against average, but wins are wins no matter what. So if he's making a couple of saves, he's getting some wins in there. You don't have to pay the premium price to acquire a guy like Martin Jones, even though he's playing great right now, because his underlying stats are not great right now.
Those numbers just might be super indicative of how good the team has been in front of him, Steele. That's my takeaway right there, is if his peripheral numbers are not that good and they're still winning games, that shows me that the team in front of him is doing some really special stuff. Just a very balanced 4 lines that they roll in Seattle. That's my main takeaway. And now that they're getting some real stud performances from the likes of Vince Dunn on that blue line, that's really kind of piecing it all together. I've talked about what I think for a run for a team, but look, Alexander Georgiev, I understand that over the last 5 games, he hasn't looked great. He hasn't looked good, Steele. But the more that this Colorado Avalanche team gets healthy, Bowen Byram is skating, Josh Manson is skating, Nichushkin should have returned. They're giving him some extra time. Landeskog will be back. Second half, goalies to target. Right before this Colorado Avalanche team gets healthy, you go after Alexander Georgiev because you want wins. This team is just good enough to go back on another cup run if they get those pieces back, and they're supposed to. So this is one of those, the GMs in your league that you're really rattled at because he's sitting there waiting for the injury updates. If you need some goaltending help, once this Colorado Avalanche team gets healthy, I know Georgiev, 1 win in his last 5, Colorado not looking great. They start picking up the pieces the second that they start to get healthy, and that's going to be over the next couple of weeks. You need to go out there. You can get Georgiev for cheap right now on a trade, and thank me later. Also, Steele, 16-11-3 with 2 shutouts and a 2.71, 915 save percentage. other than Rantanen, he's been the reason that this team is still hovering around. So say what you will about the Avalanche. He has been very good, and I think he can be even better once they get healthy.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking forward to for the Colorado Avalanche. If they can get all these pieces back, Georgiev will have a little bit more help in front of him. Again, hasn't been playing his best.
It's going to happen.
It's definitely going to come around for the Colorado Avalanche and Georgiev. Hopefully you don't have to pay a premium price if you try to acquire him in a trade. But someone that I think that you might be able to get, again, off the waiver wire or even in a decent trade here is Carter Hart from the Philadelphia Flyers, a great third-string goalie to help back up your first and second goalies that you obviously want starting. 49% rostered on ESPN, 70% rostered on Yahoo. So definitely will most likely have to make a trade on Yahoo leagues. 11, 12, and 6 record. And for me, this is about the only player that I like from the Philadelphia Flyers. Yeah, maybe Travis Konechny because he's been pretty great of late.
I love some Travis.
month and a half, but Carter Hart to me is the best player on the team. He hasn't had a ton of help the last few years. The stats have not been there. A 908 save percentage right now, a 297 goals against average. It's not the best. He's still a young goalie, but the team is garbage right now.
And he's been pretty good, Steele. Those numbers I don't think
good.
There's numbers don't indicate how good he's actually been.
Ever. Yeah, and Tortorella has been the worst head coach ever. Yeah. He makes everyone around him just really pissed off about playing for this
organization. You fully brought me over to the Tortorella hate train, so I'm with it.
Oh my goodness, man. I can't I'm about to go on another rant right now.
Let's not go there. Let's save some of those takes because I'm here for this though. Carter Hart, why not? If you're looking for a little bit of insurance.
Yeah, exactly. And for my last goal, I'm actually looking back over to the Vancouver Canucks. Thatcher Demko.
Oh, my goodness.
Could be making a return. Look, you know me and Thatcher Demko.
You went off for like a month about Demko.
But he's been gone for a month now. He's been gone for a month. He's been fixing himself. He's been fixing himself. He had an injury. He's getting back in action. He's skating again without equipment right now. He's injured in early December. He should be back, I believe, in the next week and a half or so, hopefully. If he remains on schedule, but they need the old Thatcher Demko back. I just saw a graphic the other day. They are now the leading team that has given up the most losses after multiple goals in a game.
Goal, yeah.
They've lost more 8 times goal now.
Yes.
8 times this season they've blown multi-goal leads and lost the game. They need the old Thatcher Demko back. Hopefully he comes back from this, injury he's been dealing with, and he's better than ever. But again, that's just someone that, as of right now, rostered at 65% on Yahoo, 50% on ESPN. So maybe you can get him for very cheap on a trade. Take a shot on him if you really need the help.
I like that you're taking the different angle that I am taking, because where I'm looking at this as, if you do have a surplus of bona fide juicy forwards, or you have a little bit of excess on the blue line and there's a GM in your league that needs a blue liner and you're looking for a goaltender, that's why I'm highlighting the goaltenders that I am, because you're going to be able to get an elite level. And Georgiev, maybe not elite level. Like, I understand. Darcy Kuemper, maybe not elite level, but these goalies will be in some advantageous situations, especially, like I said, caveats with Georgiev and the health of that team. But for my last 2 goaltending situations, Steele, very quickly, Vitek Vanecek and whoever is playing in the crease in Carolina are going to get the benefit of playing behind 2 of the stingiest defensive teams in the NHL. And I really didn't expect to say that with the New Jersey Devils.
Yeah.
But they sit 3rd in least goals against this season. The only 2 teams better, the Boston Bruins and the Leafs, who have been stellar on defense. They also allow, Steele, let me just pull up the shots against. Only the Hurricanes allow less shots against. You're looking at good, beneficial situations. Vitek Vanecek, worth a shot. He's going to be the goaltender who gets the run out. He's earned it. And the defense in front of him, solid. Again, Carolina, I don't know. Freddie Anderson is practicing and traveling with the team. I would be willing to take a risk on Freddie Anderson only because of how good the Carolina Hurricanes are in front of him. And Kochetkov, say what you will about him. I'm not saying go out there and get him. But whoever is going to get the run out in Carolina is going to be worth a look. Just how good these teams are defensively, Steele. That's the angle I'm taking. And at the end of the day, the main point to take away from this episode is make sure that you do not slip or sleep for one single day or episode on your goaltending roster, because it can get away from you real quick, and that's when you'll get burned for the money in your fantasy leagues.
Yeah, and just my luck with Kochetkov, I go out and trade for him 3 weeks ago, I believe it is, after he went on that extremely incredible tear, pretty much shutouts, wins every single game. He's been pretty bad of late, but I expect him, again, we talked about this. He's a young goalie. We expect him to come back better than ever, especially next season. So I'm going to hold on to him in a keeper league. Let's get over to big time bets, though. We're going to get there very, very soon. A big slate of games tonight, but this episode is also brought to you by our friends at Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious, healthy treat, then you need to go out right now and get you a box of Built Bar. If you're like me and you want to eat healthier this year, but you don't want to compromise the taste, I've got just the treat for you. It's Built Bar. You got to go get Built right now. With Built, healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they're delicious. You won't think they're good for you, but they're actually the perfect New Year's resolution. And what makes Built Bar so good, Flip, you know I'm going to say it, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate, right up my alley. I love it all the time. And they come with unbelievably great flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. And now you don't even have to wait around and order them on Built.com. You still can do that, but you can go to your closest Walmart or retail Sam's Club and pick them up in store right now. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today. Walk into the pharmacy section. Grab yourselves a box of Built Bars.
Hi, this is Walker Mayo, one of the local hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Instead of hearing me right now, we could be talking about your business and helping you reach local, passionate sports fans just like yourself. Unlike any other podcast, Locked On gives your local company the unique ability to reach local podcast listeners. If your business wants to connect with local sports fans that are well-educated with disposable income, then let's put your company right here on this Locked On podcast. Local fans love to support local businesses. Text the word advertising to 33777 or visit lockedonpodcast.com/advertising and let us know who you are. Our team will assist you to achieve advertising success with Locked On. Once again, text the word advertising to 33777 or visit lockedonpodcast.com/advertising. We look forward to hearing from you.
Built Bars are the best healthy nutritional bars out there right now. Flip and I love them. Thank you so much. Let's get over to big time bets where the money is made. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. Remember, hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. Flip and I appreciate all the love and all the support. Let's get over to big time bets where the money is made. Flip, I'll throw it over to you. What is your first pick of the night?
Hey, I have to take some heat because my picks have not been good this season, Steele. Straight up and down.
Both of ours. They have been
straight up and down.
Away.
But when you're making picks every single night and throwing your opinion out there on the internet, look, it's not going to be pretty every single night. And I'm in here grinding, doing research, and people are probably like, Flip, what is going on? This is what's going on. I'm getting back to basics, and I'm taking the good teams against the very bad teams. And that sounds silly, almost stupid, and just downright degenerate. But when I look at the Vancouver at Tampa Bay game here, Steele, this is a parlay bet, and this is a big-time puck line bet if you have the money. I'm looking at this on the money line. I'm good with it. I'm looking at it on the puck line. I'm good with it. The Vancouver Canucks are finding all kinds of new ways to blow games. Yeah. And what I saw the other night when they blew that lead against the Pittsburgh Penguins looked like they did not have it at all. So sometimes when you lose a game and there's a team who's just not getting theirs and then they bang a few goals in, there's that. Yeah. The Vancouver Canucks should have absolutely buried the Penguins. The Penguins didn't look like they even got off the bus. And I'm just going to stop this right now. Vancouver Canucks 1-5 in their last 6. They are 1-6 in their last 7 against Tampa Bay. And when they visit Tampa Bay, they're even worse, and they're a bad road team. Tampa Bay, money line, -250. That's making my card. Tampa Bay on the puck line, -1.5. Also going to make my card on a single bet, but make sure Tampa Bay on the money line is, if you're making any parlays tonight, take them for sure. They're looking pretty good over their last couple of games. You know, they lost to Winnipeg, lost to Mini, but a big-time show back from Columbus, 6-3. They're going to hammer the Canucks tonight.
Yeah, I would even go as far as, anytime goal from either Kucherov or Point. They've been pretty good for the
Kucherov's on fire.
Kucherov is on fire right now. That is not where I'm going to, but I like that your head's over there with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Definitely going to make my card as well. My first pick of the night, I'm taking the Hurricanes and Blue Jackets over 6.5 goals at plus 105 right now.
Okay.
Ever since Max Pacioretty has returned and made his debut for the Hurricanes have gone over the number in their last 5 games. 5-4 win over the Devils, 5-3 loss to the Rangers, 5-3 loss to the Nashville Predators, 4-3 loss to the Blue Jackets, and a 5-3 loss to the Devils. They've lost their last few games. I'm not sure why. It looks like they're playing great hockey. Like you alluded to, Kochetkov has led in a couple of muffin goals, but nonetheless, the goals are going in on both sides for them. I'm taking the over. Great odds at plus 105.
Love that bet, actually, very much so, and that's going to make my card now. Nice sell as well. Appreciate that, pal. And hey, Winnipeg has impressed me. I've said it. I'll say it again. I know that they just came off an ugly 7 spot. I think it was 7-5 against those Red Wings.
Yes.
They're continuing to get their goals, though. And when I look at this matchup against the Buffalo Sabres, yes, the Buffalo Sabres have been impressive, and they've won a lot of games over the last 15 matchups. But when you look at them, unless they score 4 or more goals, they lose these games still. And now all of a sudden, they're not doing that. Get shut out by the Flyers, only post 3 against the Kraken and lose. And now all of a sudden you have a team that was just embarrassed in the Winnipeg Jets, 7 goals by those Detroit Red Wings. Like I mentioned, the Winnipeg Jets are going to be a lot better. Connor Hellebuck is going to be a lot better, and he is going to limit the Buffalo Sabres tonight. That's why I'm leaning Jets heavy. Jets on the money line, minus 132. I'm going right back to it. You're going to see a few more losses from this upstart Sabres team. They're good. They're not that good, and the Jets are that good. Jets on the money line, minus 132. That's my second pick, and perhaps my favorite of the night.
I actually might stay away from that one after what happened against the Red Wings. Look, I was with you with the Jets on the money line against the Red Wings, and it burned us real bad that night. So I might pick the over in that game. I don't know who's going to win it, but I'll pick the over instead.
Yeah, I'd lean the over.
This one you might not like. I'm going to it anyways. Seattle Kraken on the money line against these Boston Bruins, plus 199 right now. I'm looking at the schedule.
Why not?
Seattle, 4-3 win over Buffalo. Seattle, 4-0 win over Montreal. Seattle, 8-4 win over Ottawa. Seattle, 5-1 win over Toronto. Seattle, 5-2 win over Edmonton. And Seattle, 4-1 win over the New York Islanders. They've won their last 6 games in a row. They're going to be the next team to beat the Boston Bruins at home. I absolutely love it. Let's go Kraken money line plus 199.
You are drinking the Kraken Kool-Aid. I'm okay with it, Steele. That's a game I'm going to stay away from, but the Buffalo Sabres, the Boston Bruins are obviously on some impressive stuff right now.
Yes.
I can't even start to even go down the well of chipping into what they've done. The Seattle Kraken, though, at the end of that East Coast road swing, that is a tough place to be. I don't know. I hope you're right. Honestly, I hope you're right.
I
because
hope I'm right too.
I would love for the Bruins to start taking some L's, but I just don't see it. I'm staying away from that game. And look, I have been okay in one area of making bets this year, and it's been with over-unders. And when I take a look at this Nashville-Montreal game, it's going to be the backup. It's going to be Lankinen probably in the net after the Predators played the Toronto Maple Leafs on Wednesday night. This just feels like an over. Both of these teams have been scoring, and actually Montreal, not scoring, allowing a lot of goals. And that's why I'm going to this over, Steele. And hey, the last 3 games between these two have produced, very quickly, 28 goals combined. The last 3 have gone well over the number. 6-3, 4-3, and 6-3 again. Give me the over 6.5. That's my lock of the night. The back-to-back for the Predators. Lankinen in net. Montreal struggling. This just feels like a great spot for an over.
That might end up making my card, my parlay as well. For my lock of the night, I'm going over to the Senators on the money line, minus 147 against these Arizona Coyotes. The Coyotes burned me the other day against the San Jose Sharks, so I'm not going back to them. I like the Senators. Tim Stützle has been on fire. I like Cam Talbot right now as well. Hopefully, Alex DeBrincat, Drake Batherson can get a little bit going on the offense as well. But that will be my lock of the night. Senators money line minus 147.
I don't mind it. Look, again, this is not a pretty board as much as I believe, this
some
is
tough matchups for sure.
12-game board. Usually there's a bit more matchups that we like heavily, but maybe that's a takeaway as well. Maybe dial back the bet tonight. Maybe just sprinkle in some parlays. Honestly, Tampa Bay money line, Winnipeg Jets money line, and the over that I'm liking, and maybe add in, what was your second pick, Steele?
Second pick was the Hurricanes, Blue Jackets over 6.5, and then Kraken.
I'm really liking that one. Those would probably be my 4 bets. It feels like a parlay night. I've been saying that a lot. That's what happens, people, when it's a rough ride with the bets. You got to sprinkle a couple of degenerate micro parlays if you're getting silly. But hey, thanks for holding us down, and it's a long, long season. We're only at the halfway mark. Lots more opportunities to make this money.
Yeah, lots more opportunities for sure. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Once again, we're available on your favorite podcast platform and YouTube. Episodes drop Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, so you don't want to miss out. Hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. Thank you so much again for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.
Hi, this is Walker Mayo, one of the local hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Instead of hearing me right now, we could be talking about your business and helping you reach local, passionate sports fans just like yourself. Unlike any other podcast, Locked On gives your local company the unique ability to reach local podcast listeners. If your business wants to connect with local sports fans that are well-educated with disposable income, then let's put your company right here on this Locked On podcast. Local fans love to support local businesses. Text the word advertising to 33777 or visit lockedonpodcast.com/advertising and let us know who you are. Our team will assist you to achieve advertising success with Locked On. Once again, text the word advertising to 33777 or visit lockedonpodcast.com/advertising. We look forward to hearing from you.
Hey, Prime members, you can listen to this Locked On podcast ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app today.